Roo! Roo! Woo! Roo said, I had to do it this time, since this is the 7th episode, episode number 7. 7 is 2 dogs minus 1 stick, or a dog and a person plus 1 stick. And Roo says she and I together are most like 7 because she's a little like a person and I'm a little like a dog. Get it? So. Episode 6 talked about the party to celebrate Ro and Urf's safe return from the cave lion's hideaway, and how they were acting different. And we're still marching toward understanding how Doggerland itself somehow was invisibly, fatally broken, so that the ocean filled it drop by drop over thousands of years. And it floated ever lower until a speeding wall of water finished it off, thus necessitating the great project of today. So, by order of the great high and humble Dogger, on with the tale. Aroo! Another time I'll have to tell more about how the dens of the chase in Doggerland were constructed. For now, imagine Ro and Urf trotting through a series of rooms under arched ceilings of interwoven branches, over floors padded with vibrant feathers, the predominating colors changing from room to room, and their depth increasing, the feathers' depth increasing as the duo moved deeper into the hillsides farther upriver. They had been summoned for conversation with one of the great noses, Y, who was old but whose considerable size, high delta ears, and polished white canines made a daunting impression on most dogs. Her reputation was even more imposing. She was director of works in charge of Doggerland improvements. Under her authority, the subsidiary dens to the north and west were being replanted. Subterranean excavations had expanded the chase's living space by almost 50% in less than 5 years. Earth-moving and irrigation works had approximately doubled in volume and area covered, respectively. When Ro and Urf entered, she was standing, her tail stretched high and wagging, her mouth shut. A narrow stream cut through the center of her receiving room, several inches below her dotted feather mats. Wise eyes told Ro and Urf not to cross to her side of it, but to instead sit on a pair of dry mudstone slabs in which were visible the petrified remains of innumerable sea creatures. Spears of morning sunlight fell between the ceiling branches, first angling to the floor, then as the conversation wore on, the narrow shafts with hypnotic mists weaving through like ghosts approached a perpendicular to the floor. You would have been nervous. Roo and Wiley, the most recent great high and humble Dogger, have introduced me to dogs like Y in my kitchen, dogs big enough to hunt through my cupboards, big enough to carry Roo on their backs, with paws as long as your feet, capable of leaping onto the roof of a van as it pulls out of a driveway. It's a long story. Another one, I mean. The noses have asked me to find out where you two have been all this time, she said. Urf and Ro looked at each other stupidly, then back at her. It's hard to believe you were lost all that time. It should be easy to tell me everything that happened, Y continued, unless... Here she looked hard at Ro. Maybe you were injured? Unconscious? Incapacitated? Ro tried to puzzle out whether either he or Urf had been incapacitated. He stared at the rock between his paws and exhaled. Y knew perfectly well neither Ro nor Urf understood the word. Did you ever find the lions? she asked. There were two. Did you catch them? Did they pounce on you? She couldn't help giving them a scare by half shouting the word pounce. She would tell her friends later how she'd made them cringe. Ro thought he saw them, Urf said. Maybe it wasn't them, though. It smelled like them, like cats, said Ro. We both smelled them, and heard them, too. Ro's right, Urf agreed. We smelled them everywhere down there. But they never attacked. That's interesting. The two of you would have made an easy meal for a pair of lions. More dogs than Y could remember had disappeared from the chase's lands. From time to time, packs found piles of cracked and disarticulated bones that were unmistakably from dogs who had gone missing. Only a few months had passed since a storm had blown a bleached canine skull and ribs off a beach bough that had apparently provided a safe and quiet lunch perch for a big cat. They were playing with us, maybe, Rose speculated. They kept telling us, "This way, dogs. This way, Urf." Sometimes we could see their eyes. Just once, while the pack was still sort of with us, we thought one of them was attacking us, Urf explained. After that, we never saw any of the other dogs. They were hurting you. Cats heard too. To herself, Y added that they also isolate the weak and stupid. We kept going where they told us, Rose said. We didn't know what else to do, said Urf. Then they disappeared and we never saw them again. Ro yawned, or heard them. Y knew as well as any dog of that age how cats and mysteries go together. They have their ways, she said, not caring to speculate aloud what caprice had led the felines to abandon their game. What did you eat down there? For dogs who'd been lost beneath the surface for days, Ro and Urf looked fantastic, verging on chubby, even. As if they'd had access to a round-the-clock, all-you-can-eat buffet at a Yucatan resort. Ro belched involuntarily. Urf could only stare at him. By the looks of it, we found something really tasty. Those are some full bellies. Was it bugs? Y stepped closer and inhaled several times. They smelled like wood, mainly. The familiar key odors that clung to dogs who did foresting and digging. Dirt, roots, leaves, fungi were all present. Ro and Urf didn't know. Really deep down, we chewed on some sticks for a while that tasted sweet, Ro said. But we were still hungry even though we chewed them for hours and hours. That was all Y got from them that day, because as soon as Ro finished that sentence, several dogs ran through the room chasing after something. Y ran after them, furiously barking, and was gone. For so long, Ro and Urf just shrugged at each other and left. That'll have to be the end of episode 7. Ru objects to letting it get any longer, since it's already well beyond the usual length. She says my voice is probably putting you to sleep. And she says it's time we went for a walk so she can sniff what's on the breezes. On the breezes, by the way, is a phrase she uses all the time, and it means what's new, as in, hey Ru, what's on the breezes? She says you're welcome to use it for your own greetings if you like. Next time, we probably will, almost definitely, maybe for sure, get to the bottom, finally, of how Doggerland was compromised and at long last sank. As this whole revelation spins out, I'll be making it ever more accessible through social media and elsewhere. You can find it on YouTube. Ru says I should call it RuTube, so yeah, find it there. On the Great Project of the Dogs of the Chase in Exile Facebook page, on my Facebook page for the book that eats people. Keep in mind that all this heretofore unknown Doggish lore is being brought into the ken of humans by order of the great, high, and humble Dogger, that the raising of Doggerland may be accomplished with your help and blessing. Until episode 8, I'm John Perry with Rue de la Rue, Swanzor. Thanks for listening. Arroo!